What's up, everybody? You have done all the research. You have done the mock drafts. Now it is time to correctly identify who to start for week one. I'm not going to hold this up too long. I don't like watching videos where they take forever. So let's get right into it. I'm Joe Pepe. This is Touchdowns and Triple Plays. We're going to go into our very first question of the week. And it comes from, well, Twitter, X, whatever you may want to call it. But at your favorite Poppy is asking at the flex position. PPR league now. Should we start Samaje P. Ryan or should we start Marvin Mims? And we got two guys from the same team. The Broncos are playing the Raiders. And it's tough because you don't know what Javonte Williams is going to do. If you're looking into it, you have some analysts who love who he is as a player and thinks he's going to come back healthy. As somebody who has a degree in kinesiology, I know that that type of injury where you just absolutely demolish your knee and your lower body and you got to figure out how to do everything again, that's going to take some time. So P Ryan is somebody you can use, and then you also have Jerry Judy dealing with an injury, which gives you Marvin Mims. So who's the better player? Let's break down P Ryan first. P Ryan is facing a Raiders defense that has allowed the fifth most touchdowns to running backs, the fourth most receptions to running backs, the most receiving yards to running backs, and the second most receiving touchdowns to running backs. Now, here's the thing. Javonte Williams will be in the game a little bit, so he will get some play in it. But I do believe that Sean Payton, the new head coach for the Denver Broncos, is going to take the ball out of Russell Wilson's hands. If you remember when they first got together, he told Russell Wilson to basically stop being a politician, come in, play football, stop, quote unquote, kissing babies. Not my quote, his quote. So I think they're going to take the ball out of his hands. Now, yes, Marvin Mims gets to face a defense that has allowed the 10th most yards to the wide receivers, and Jerry Judy might be out leading the more snaps, but rookies are hard to figure out, especially in the beginning. They come on later in the season. And yeah, maybe Marvin Mims for DraftKings at 3K might be good, but for your redraft teams, for your dynasty teams, if this is your question and for your favorite Poppy, I'm here for you, buddy. You are my favorite Poppy. But here's the thing. I think you want some P. Ryan. You get a running back who is going to get some automatic touches. You know he's going to be used in the game plan. You're going to get, like I said, fifth most touchdowns to running backs, fourth most receptions to running back, most receiving yards to running back, second most receiving touchdowns to running backs. And they're going to take the ball, I believe, out of Russell Wilson's hand. Just to limit the bad, I think you have to go Samaje P. Ryan there. So let's move on to the second question. And this one comes from at Trey Gates on YouTube. Thanks for tuning in, checking out the page, subscribing, all that fun stuff. Appreciate you, buddy. This question is big news here because we got Luke Musgrave versus Noah Gray. Sorry. And Noah Gray is only in this because Travis Kelce hurt his knee. Now, it came out to be a bone bruise, but here's the thing. They play on Thursday against the Detroit Lions. And he probably will play. I'm going to say he's going to play, but how effective is he going to be? A bone bruise takes about 2 to 4 weeks to fully heal, depending on the size of the bone bruise itself. And it could be a real pain in the butt to deal with. So, do you reach out and use Noah Gray, who is going up against the Lions, who has one of the worst touchdown rates given up the tight ends last season? The Lions defense also allowed the second most touchdowns and the sixth most fantasy points per game, and it is the higher scoring game. Or do you reach out to Luke Musgrave, who has a much tougher matchup because the Bears have allowed the second fewest receptions to tight ends, the third fewest yards to tight ends, and the fifth fewest fantasy points per game to tight ends. And that game projects to be more running because that's what the Bears do. They pass at the lowest rate in the NFL, which slows down the pace of play. And the Packers are looking to slow it down now, too, because they don't have Aaron Rodgers. So here's the thing. I just kind of laid out the cases there. And Luke Musgrave is going to be in a slower game. Pace of play will be slower. They're going to run the ball more. I expect a much lower matchup total coming from that game from the NFC North rivals. And even though Christian Watson will most likely miss the game to his hamstring injury, and Romeo Dobbs is dealing with injury, leaving just Kraft, Musgrave, Jalen Reed, basically a trio of rookies. You know what happens when it's a trio of rookies? They lean on the vets, and the vets are AJ Dillon and the vets are Aaron Jones. That's who's going to get the ball mostly. It's going to become a running back game. And as much as I like Luke Musgrave for the whole season, give me Noah Gray, even if Travis Kelce plays. I don't think he's going to get the full allotment of snaps here. And I believe he's going to split it almost 50-50 at best. I think Noah Gray will actually get more. And like I said, Noah Gray is in the higher scoring game against the Lions, who allow the highest touchdown rate to tight ends, the second most touchdowns to tight ends, and the sixth most fantasy points per game. I'm shooting for upside with my tight end because both of these tight ends are kind of towards the bottom in my rankings. It's not like you got a Mark Andrews to choose from here. Shoot for upside when it comes to those tight ends. We are moving on to a third question from my buddy Jamie. Jamie, welcome in, buddy. Thank you for subscribing. We're friends everywhere. One of the best guys. You should go follow him everywhere you can. I'm going to drop his little socials up here in a minute. You'll get to see the question yourself. But he has two. So we're going to break down both of them because he's such a good guy. First one is Antonio Gibson over Rachaad White or Rachaad White over Antonio Gibson. And for me, this is pretty simple. I like Rachaad White. Yes, Baker Mayfield checks the ball down a lot. Yes, they're going to need the running back, but the Vikings are actually middle of the pack when it comes to giving up yards and fantasy points to running backs. They only allow 17 points per game to the running back, which I know sounds like a lot, but if you go and look down the list, that's actually kind of middle of the pack. You want Antonio Gibson. He is the more explosive player. He gets Eric Bieniemy on the offense now, who can turn him into something a little bit more. And he is now the passing down back because J.D. McKissic is gone. We don't have to worry about J.D. McKissic anymore. So it's just Antonio Gibson and Brian Robinson. And I would rather have the explosive back out of those two because they are facing an Arizona Cardinals team that has allowed the most receiving touchdowns to running backs in 2022. They allowed the third most receiving yards to running backs in 2022, the third most receptions to running backs, and the third most fantasy points per game. And oh yeah, remember this, the Cardinals are in a fire sale right now. They don't care. They brought Jonathan Gannon from Philadelphia and said, you know that trust the process thing? Bring it with you. They're trading everybody. They're not trying anymore. So that defense that was already atrocious is even more putrid now. Antonio Gibson is going to be like prime Shaq against these Arizona Cardinals defense, and I can't wait to see it. You have to go with Antonio Gibson here. You get a upside play with the explosion. You get a guy whose skill set as the passing down running back just lines up beautifully with how bad Arizona covers it. Antonio Gibson over Rachaad White all day, every day, double on Sunday. And finally, Jamie, one more question he had in a PPR league. He told me to sit one in Deontay Johnson, Chris Godwin, Christian Kirk, and Christian Watson. Now, we're going to give you the cop-out answer. Christian Watson's probably not going to play. He's going to be the one you want to sit. He just got a soft tissue injury in practice a couple days before the game. He's probably going to miss week one. If all four of them are playing, I'm still sitting Christian Watson. But if you want me to take two out of the equation, just for the fun of YouTube, because like who wants to come here and hear me give a cop-out? I'm probably going to drop out Christian Kirk because Deontay Johnson in a PPR league, got to start him. Don't care it's the Niners, got to start him. Chris Godwin, he's going to have some play. The Minnesota Vikings defense is not very good. Baker Mayfield's going to have to throw the ball to keep up with that offense that has the ability to explode on people. And yes, Christian Kirk is part of the Jacksonville Jaguars, but they're getting the Indianapolis Colts. If he doesn't score in the first half, we could see something like the Philadelphia Eagles in 2022, where they just run it up 25, 30, 35 points in the first half, and then just kind of coast. And if they coast, it becomes a Tank Bigsby game, becomes a little more Travis Etienne, maybe a bit of Evan Ingram, maybe the backups in Brenton Strange and Parker Washington and players like that. But Christian Kirk is more of a floor play anyway. It's just who he is with Calvin Ridley, Travis Etienne, Tank Bigsby, Evan Ingram there. He doesn't have the highest of ceilings anymore. Christian Watson does give you that high of a ceiling. So if he's going to play, I probably lean on Christian Watson, but the actual analysis here, even though it's a bit of a cop out, Christian Watson is not going to play in week one with that injury. You could pretty much book that one. If you're picking from these four, you sit Christian Watson. If you need another wide receiver because Christian Watson and Romeo Doubs are both injured, and the Bears are pretty good against the tight end, like we just discussed earlier with Luke Musgrave, Jayden Reed, go get him from the Green Bay Packers. He's a bit of an athletic profile from their wide receiver role. They use him in jet sweeps. They're going to use him in the slot. They're going to have to use him everywhere because right now they're dealing with a ton of injuries. So they need some type of passing game. Don't forget about Reed, especially in DFS. Now we have one more special question. I'm going to throw it up here. My buddy, Jazzy Slip 12 on Twitter, he wants to know, how's his squad? Now, here's the thing. He's in a 12-team standard league. So let's break it down real quick. I'm not going to hold this on too long. He's got Herbert, Alexander Madison, Bijan Robinson, okay, Tyreek Hill, George Pickens, Sam Laporta, Jahan Dotson, Greg Zuerlein, and the Commanders. I'm going to throw the teams up here after filming, but you'll get to see them the whole time. I like his team. He's got Alexander Madison, again, standard league. Alexander Madison, Bijan Robinson, two backs that are going to be volume-based running backs for their team. Yes, that Tyler Algier is there, but he is not Bijan Robinson. Let's just stop it. Tyreek Hill can explode and take over a game. George Pickens can explode, take over a game. Jahan Dotson can explode, take over a game. He went a little upside with Sam Laporta. That's okay. It's tight end. Once you're not taking the first couple, you got to go for upside. And then he's got a chance at an MVP here with Justin Herbert. I think he picked a very good team for standard because you look at each one of these guys, and they could be the touchdown guy for their team. And when it comes to standard, because the receptions don't matter, that's what you're going for. So thank you, Jazzy Slip 12. That's a pretty good team. I'll give it an A in my book. I want to thank everybody for coming in. I like to make this quick, fast. Leave your comments. Give me your questions, your starts, your sits. Who should you play in Dynasty? Who should you pick up? Every comment, I got you. I'll be in these comment threads. I'm going to be here to help. Remember to like, comment, share, subscribe, all that fun stuff. But come on, let's talk. Send me your teams. Give me your questions. Let me help you for week one in 2023. And like Jameis Winston says, let's get that dub.